Did he cheat or did I catch an STI from a koala?
That's it?
That's it. My female 27 husband, male 28, and I have been together for 5 years after being friends for most of my teenage years. We have 2 sons, and this whole story takes place in March of 2020, when I was 3 months pregnant with my second child. I had gone to my 13-week scan, and something wasn't right. I fully expected the worst, but my GP just said that it could be something on those scans with my fallopian tube. Nothing was wrong with my baby, and I wanted to get some blood and swabs done.
The fact that she's pregnant just clicked how much worse this is gonna be.
Yeah. When the results came back, my GP called me to come in urgently. That's when she showed me that my tests had returned positive for chlamydia.
Oh.
The koala chlamydia, it'll get you. I was shocked, and my GP knew I had been with my husband for years. She was my doctor all the way back when my first son was born. She knew all of our history. She straight up asked me if our relationship was monogamous, and I, of course, said yes.
Who does that leave?
The suspects are dwindling. She gave me the rundown of treatments and scripts, telling me that my husband would need to come to be tested as well to confirm before he too would likely need treatment. She said all this with a look of pity. She was thinking it. I was thinking it. My partner had cheated and given me an STD.
Ugh.
It sucks. I'm furious and heartbroken, but I go home and I took a long shower. I scrubbed myself clean, and then I sit down in our home. Our family photo hung on the wall, mocking me, and I call him. He's at work, and I'm crying on the phone explaining that I've just been to the doctors and gotten results that I'm positive for chlamydia. And I said, how could you do this, you bastard? All the works. I hang up, and he's calling me over and over, but I'm trying to calm down as I have to collect our son from daycare, and I still have to put myself together as a mother somehow. I ignore his calls and go about my day utterly crushed. I'm giving our son dinner when he comes home. I go to my room and talk to my husband, and he is sitting on the bed holding his head, crying. I walk over to him and say, I don't know how you could do this to me and our family, but you've given me an STD, and you also need to get tested and take this medication.
Man, he seems so innocent.
I know, like crying on the bed. He looks at me, eyes red raw, yelling at me that I am a sick and twisted person for cheating on him, getting an STD, and then blaming him for it. So there is an update.
Okay.
What do you think about this reverse Uno card that the husband just pulled on OP?
We have the title. We know about koalas somehow in the mix. We see his reverse Uno. I think this man is just grasping his cheeks and just pulling out whatever card he can pull out of his tight little booty hole.
Dirtiest, filthiest, poopiest card.
The dirtiest, filthiest one.
Well, let's get into this update and see where this poop card leads us. So my husband thinks I'm the one who has been unfaithful, and I'm just furious. I have never cheated,
and I hate cheating.
It's a disgusting act to do to someone you love. But he is adamant that he also never strayed, and our argument ends with us waking up our son, so I go to settle him. When I came out, he packed his bag and said he was leaving. He said he was going to stay with his parents for a bit, and he left, and I cried all night. The next few weeks were hell. He tested positive, obviously. Both of us still accusing each other. It got to the point where I asked if we could separate because I didn't see how this could be resolved since neither of us would own up.
Man.
He said he would tell me the answer if the pregnancy I was carrying truly was his after a paternity test.
Oh, not to the paternity test.
We went and got the test, and of course it was his child. We went to therapy, which never solved anything, and he eventually moved in. So it's more than 2.5 years later now. Whoa, we just skipped. This is a
time
long
traveling on our updates,
gang.
really.
And Adam is scrolling through TikTok when this reel with Robert Irwin comes on. He was talking about how the biggest threat to the koala population is chlamydia. I swear if a light bulb appeared in his head, it would have shone out through his ears because I saw him start to piece things together. He now has come to the conclusion that he thinks he did give me chlamydia, but it wasn't through cheating on a human. Back in mid to late 2019, these koalas were just by the side of the road, exhausted. At one point, we pulled over and Adam grabbed some water for these poor guys. One of these fellas was so thirsty and exhausted, he was just holding on to my partner's arm as he drank. And yes, Adam picked up this koala and gave him a cuddle. And yes, the koala proceeded to pee all over his shirt and arm.
Of course.
We laughed it off, moved him off the road track, and continued on. Now, being a festival in the middle of the bush, there are only showers that you pay for. We were not planning on using it to shower until the last day. He'd taken off the shirt, washed his hands with bottled water, and then we arrived and set up camp and went to party and forgot all about the koala. completely. Over those days, we had sex a lot. So we go down the rabbit hole of research and find out that yes, you can catch chlamydia from koalas.
I am speechless.
You can catch chlamydia from koala pee.
He wasn't lying.
Adam is so fast to make an appointment at our GPS office. We showed up and explained everything, and even she agrees with him that yes, it is possible that the STD could have originated from koala piss. We were completely asymptomatic, so we could have had it from then, and it was only detected during the pregnancy. Since finding this out, it's like my husband has changed again. He's back to the loving, affectionate, caring man he was before this started. He's accepted this explanation so easily. And now, how do I wrap my head around the fact that my husband did in fact give me chlamydia, but from a koala? And John, there is an update.
Oh my God, there's more?
There is.
How could there be more?
So far, it looks like we have a happily ever after. But John, it gets worse.
No.
I sat my husband down last evening and we spoke about how I'm feeling now that we know the truth. I talked about how much pain I've been through with him accusing me and vice versa. And I apologized for my part in things, told him how much I loved him and how happy I was to finally put this to rest. Now we know that there is nothing between us. And then he starts fidgeting and getting upset. And then he tells me that actually he did cheat. Yep, I know. But he still didn't give me the STD, he says. In the months after finding out, yes, our relationship was in a really bad place. When he wasn't living at home at the time, he went out and had a one-night stand with a girl from a pub in the town over. He explained that he genuinely believed that I cheated. Wow. And after a few drinks, he decided he was going to end things with me, so he went ahead with sleeping with this girl. It was his way of going tit for tat. Cheating is a deal breaker for me, and I never slept with anyone. I never considered it a payback tit for tat move against him, so why did he do that to me? I'm heartbroken, and part of me wishes we could go back to where before all this happened. I can't break up my family. We have 2 kids, 2 dogs, 2 cats, 2 cars, and a house together. It would be a mess, but I don't know how to take this on now. He could have told me this 6 months ago when we first found out about this new possibility, but he didn't. He waited until I poured my heart out to him in an apology to dump me with this confession. I guess I'll take a few days to process and then decide things, but I'll probably stay. I love him so much, even though this has broken a little part of me I just found again. Oh well, life will go on, right?
I feel like I have not been on this emotional roller coaster on a story in a long time.
Right? I don't know if I necessarily really blame the dude for the one night stand, because it sounds like when they parted ways, it was like over.
Just the fact that he used it as revenge is like way more
it's
whack
worse.
And hurtful.
It's super
than
hurtful.
Like, you know what? Like he goes to his parents' house. He's like, man, I really need to like maybe meet some other people. And like, you know, like I almost feel like that could have been not as bad in a way. It was so vengeful.
Before we jump into this next story, one question for the audience. Have you had chlamydia?
Tell us your stories. My homophobic neighbor is trying to evict me for boning my gay boyfriend. I told him to pound sand because I'll pound whoever I want. Am I the a-hole?
That is honestly a beautiful statement. I'll pound whoever I want.
You go pound that sand.
I want you to like remove a layer of skin trying to pound that sand. I want it to look like a little like dog wiener. You know, when like the dog wiener comes out and it's all like red and like raw looking.
I do. So, a bit of a weird one, so please bear with me. I rent an apartment from a man who lives down the street. It's a nice enough apartment, and up until now, I've had very few issues. The problem is he's rather conservative, and I am rather
fabulous
gay. Once he found out that my boyfriend wasn't just a friend who spent a lot of time with me, he tried to bar him from coming over, literally and figuratively. I told him to pound sand, as the saying goes.
Love it.
Gotta love it. Now, he sent me a letter stating that effective immediately, there shall be a $250 fine every time.
What? Every time what?
Quote, I commit the sin of homosexuality in my apartment. This guy is about to go down.
This is a blessing in disguise. You have receipts and a lawsuit. This is great news, OP. Homophobia pays.
Ta-da! If I refuse to sign the addendum, he claims that he will file to evict me due to breach of the lease, specifically the clause that the premise shall not be used for illegal activity.
How is that illegal?
My man, not only is he backwards in many ways, he just needs to talk to a lawyer. He cites the Massachusetts state code that criminalizes fornication, sex outside of marriage, and crimes against good nature, which he insists means homosexual sexual relations, the statute does not define it any further than that. I looked them up, and they are evidently real crimes. I know they're not enforceable by any stretch, but have I technically done illegal activity in my apartment? I really don't want to move early.
No way, OP. There's no way.
No, you have such a countersuit. The lease started in September, or have an eviction on my record. I know this seems absolutely silly, but the fact that they are still technically crimes in the book gives me a little pause. Do I need to take this seriously, or can I start coming up with more ways to say pound sand? What should I do if he tries to take any further action? Sue him so much.
This is discrimination, right? Easily.
Yes, on multiple grounds.
Is that the end?
No, we have an update.
All right, let's hear it.
So first of all, I just wanted to say, wow. The amount of support I've received, both in replies and in personal messages, was absolutely amazing.
Reddit community coming in hot.
Boop, boop. Everything from fantastic advice to hilarious commentary. The person who said sand is a weird name for a guy had me in stitches. That said, I feel like people assumed a much worse picture of my landlord, people telling me to buy cameras, etc. He's a nice enough person, but has some very problematic views. He grew up rural, Arkansas, I think, that or Alabama, and came to Massachusetts later in life. This was his first time being a landlord, so he still has this idea in his head that it is his house, so to speak.
Oh man, Buddy doesn't know what he's about to be hit with. He's about to be hit with all the laws. I mean, if OP wanted, OP could own that house by the end of the day.
Literally. That, coupled with the fact that up until now, he's avoided even talking with people who are openly gay, led to a lot of ignorance. I know some of you were hoping I'd screw him over for all he's worth, or torment him with daily updates of my gay agenda. But alas, I've decided to take the calmer approach, and it seemed to work. Yesterday, I sat down with him and first laid out the various information that you guys helped me find. Everything from sexual orientation being a protected class, trouble damages, and the fact that those old laws are 100% completely unenforceable. And he realized very quickly that he was in the wrong and he fucked up bad. He also admitted that even he didn't know what he defined as the sin of homosexuality. Now you're not sure what you mean. Like, oh, I'm so confused by what I just said.
Hopefully not enforceable in the court of law.
How do you define this random collection of sounds that escape my mouth?
Please just don't define them.
Yeah, let's not.
Let me just retreat to my house and you don't go to court.
Or how he would enforce the fine. He just had a knee-jerk reaction to the shocking news. We ended up chatting for about 2 hours then, and it started with me dispelling a lot of misconceptions about gays. Some of his notions were comically bad. Like, if I weren't having the conversation with him, I'd think he were a caricature. He's a lot older than me, and his kids recently moved across the country, and he was renting out their house for him. So I think he had some notions of being a father figure to me and thinking he could lay down the law or set me straight.
Yikes.
Ooh, buddy. Wow. He seemed genuine and seemed to be legitimately concerned for me and my soul. I reminded him to hate the sin and not the sinner, and that seemed to resonate with him. He still doesn't agree with homosexuality or my lifestyle, but he's willing to accept it. He seemed to be earnestly trying, and in my mind, that counts for a lot. He agreed to write both me and my boyfriend a letter of apology, which I will be keeping copies of in case this matter does come up again and needs to go to court. The past few days have been super stressful, but it seems to be resolved. If things go well, I might even potentially renew the release come September. It'll still be on guard for any shenanigans, but I think I'll leave the issue where it lies now. If this was all a ruse or him backpedaling, I'll go at him with everything I can in the future. But for now, I'm satisfied. I'm truly appreciative for all the people who offered advice and moral support in the original thread. Wow. Man, some good stories in this session.
Sounds like the guy became a little less homophobic. Not completely, but a little less.
Here's the thing, okay, there was kind of two paths, right? There was one path, which is go to the court and sue him out of his brain hole.
Which I like that path. That's a fun path. That's a Mega Million
Who doesn't
path.
love money?
Yeah.
Right?
It's like when Michael kisses Oscar in The Office and then he gets a new car and then Oscar's like, you know what? Part of me wants them to learn their lesson, but part of me wants to say, keep talking. I want a home theater. Sometimes it pays to be gay.
Damn, great recall.
I've also watched The Office 1,000 times.
There you go. I think what's so incredible about this is he's like, okay, let me sit down and actually have a conversation with him.
Almost use it as a learning opportunity.
Very much so. And how much this guy grew and learned and understood in that conversation is immense. And it's so easy easy. It's so easy to write him off.
I think OP did the most angelic thing that they could have done. So props to you, OP, for, making one person a little less homophobic.
That's right. Have fun pounding whoever you want, OP.
Yeah, pound away. But what we want to hear right now,
Oh, God.
please clickety-clack on your keyboards, your worst landlord stories. I'm sure there's a lot.
So many.
I know they have good landlord stories. My last landlord would tell us stories about like him going over to like Vietnam, and like it was actually weird, but he would tell us stories about like how he would get happy endings in Vietnam.
I feel like they could go in the other category. If the choice is in the eye of the
But he
beholder.
was funny while he was telling those stories.
He is a comedian.
Hope he's okay. He was severely overweight.
Hopefully he doesn't have the clap.
Yeah, the man does have the clap. The stories he told definitely has the clap. But let's get into this next story, so clap away.
Boom.
My ex wanted to take my service dog for his ADHD, so I dumped them. Am I the a-hole?
This man wants the dog to do his homework. The dog is just going to eat his homework.
I don't know if the problems that you want solved are going to be solved, but you'll have fun while not solving them.
Now that is true.
Service dogs for ADHD, brought to you by Mayor Samuel Donner.
Yeah.
This is from YouTube subscriber Star Rose 108.
Hey, shout out Star Wars. I've seen a few comments from you.
Okay, so let me tell you about my ex, F. I'll be honest, F was a rebound after I had my heart broken. Yikes. Yeah, F is already getting cooked right now. That was mistake number one. F was 18 at the time, and I had recently turned 20, so I wasn't thinking of an age gap very much. I was still living with my parents, and F decided to run away from home. So my parents allowed them to stay in the spare room for the time being. Dang, that's a crazy situation already, running away from home. I got myself a job working the night shift at a gas station, and I helped them find a job at a different gas station on the day shift. Here's where the red flag started. F would schedule for us to be at social events without taking into consideration that I had an odd sleep schedule because of the night shift, which led to multiple instances of me having to drive long distances while exhausted, which is never good for safety. If you've seen my other comments, you'll know that I'm disabled and have POTS and fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia, I believe.
Okay, muscle skeletal pain.
Heart issues and muscle skeletal pain.
So the symptoms had recently started becoming worse, and I was fainting more frequently and having trouble walking and standing. And this dude was just planning a whole social calendar. Can we go to a headbanging concert?
Yeah, I fucking love death metal.
There was one day where they insisted they needed my cane and took it without asking, and then kept leaving it at random places where I couldn't get to it. When I mentioned looking into getting a service dog for myself, they asked me if my dog could help with their ADHD. If you know anything about service dogs, you know that's absurd. But if you don't, service dogs are trained for the specific needs of one disabled person, and there really isn't any task a dog could perform that would help with ADHD. During one of these social outings, 30 miles from my house that I didn't really want to attend, but I was the only one that could drive, I ended up having a fainting episode, I guess in the car. For me, all that needs to be done is wake me up, give me some water, give me a few minutes to recover, and I'll be completely fine again. F freaked out and got an ambulance called, and I ended up with mascara stains on my legs because F could do nothing but cry in my lap. Instead of just shaking me and finding me a drink, all of this came to a head when F got neon purple hair dye all over the bathroom. It was like a unicorn exploded and left it there for hours, staining the countertops, walls, door, floor, rug, and bathtub. And instead of apologizing, F screamed at my mother and slammed the door. They're letting F stay in the house.
In their house.
Slammed the door in her face before walking out of the house after dark in pajama shorts, FaceTiming with God only knows who. That was the end, and my parents had me tell them to find another living arrangement. They were sort of in charge of my friend group, so I ended up losing a good number of friends, but they all turned out to be assholes anyway. I'm so glad that F is out of my life, and I feel sorry for the constant string of exes they've had since we broke up 3 years ago. Toxicity can never be lonely.
Man, Star Rose. Oh, you and your family did so much for F.
F them.
F them. Honestly, not that way, but like
Let life F them and everyone else.
that's what I'm talking about.
I guess I want to hear your worst relationship stories in the comments.
And shout out to you, Star Rose, for dropping your comment. We've been reading a lot more stories from our audience here on YouTube. So yeah, definitely share your stories. We might just read them on the show.
Read them. All right. We'll see you soon.